Hey everyone. So, moving on to the next video, let's talk about the sticky subject when you're starting your business, and that is pricing. The main point I'm going to tell you in this video is don't be scared about your pricing and don't sell out of your own pocket. For example, when I first started executive cleaning services, I had $526 or $27 in my account total. That's it. My first job was an $1,100 move out. So I couldn't afford that. I couldn't. I mean, so when you're telling people about your pricing, you never want to sell out of your own bank account or what you think you can afford. That'll throw you for a loop. But it's okay when you're talking with people about this to feel weird about your pricing because it's the first time you've done it. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. However, if you keep feeling weird about it and you let that make your decisions for you on your pricing, you're going to start underpricing your service. And that comes from the fear of being told no. That comes from the fear of maybe my service and my skills aren't good enough, or the fear of getting compared to other local service and cleaning companies. Again, don't let any of that dictate how you price your services. You are worth more than you think when it comes to this because it's a lot of work. What you're doing is a lot of work. A simple rule to remember is someone can afford the problem, they can afford the solution. If someone can afford to be looking for a move out cleaner or a deep cleaner, they can afford you. Your early pricing should be able to cover your time, cover your costs, and allow room for growth. Remember, we've talked about those margins. Eventually, you're going to want to grow, you're going to want to expand, or is it going to naturally happen? You're going to have to expand. You're going to have to buy better equipment. You might need to get a loan for some equipment. You need to have that pricing and those margins built into your pricing as you go forward. Don't race to the bottom to try to compete with everyone else. A ton of companies do this. They'll be the cheapest one out there just to get the most amount of business, and then they burn out or they fail or they can't afford their car breaking down or something like that. Cheap pricing attracts the hardest clients. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you're the cheapest, the first person's going to bite and you're going to be stuck in a job with a person that's very difficult. And that first client that I had that gave me that scathing 1-star review, that was because I was the cheapest in town. You want to be somewhere in the middle or even a little bit closer to the higher end on your pricing. Like we talked about in a couple videos, that $45 an hour. Depends on where you live. But that pricing already has built into it the margins that you need to start a small company. Um, at Executive Cleaning, we charge $65 an hour. Colorado is a more expensive place to live, a more expensive place to run a business, and that completely depends on where you are. But $65 an hour is able to cover our office space, our parking spots for our fleet, our chemicals, our supplies, and all of that. So it's one of those things you kind of figure out what's best for you when it comes down to it. So when you're talking about pricing with that first client, be confident, say the numbers clearly. Pause and let them think, let them answer. If there is a little bit of silence, that's okay. You don't want it to be something to where they're like, how much for a move out? You say $700. They sit there and they stare at you blankly. You freak out and you say, I'm sorry, not 700, 300. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. Bad move. Most of the time when they sit and stare at you blankly, they're thinking, can I afford this? Is it worth it? And they're about to say yes, but you interject and you give them the discount anyway. There might be a little bit of back and forth of, oh, do you have a military or first responder or senior discount? And if you decide to offer those, great. I encourage you to do so. But let them make the decision first. So that wraps up this little video on pricing. I hope it helps you. As always, consider joining the school group and and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Um, Building this 3-part series, so it's going to be super informative. So, see you guys.